Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another Monday night live stream. Hope everybody is well. Apologies for not streaming last Wednesday. Haven't been very well. I'm still not 100% if I'm perfectly honest. I've kind of, I feel alright. I don't feel too ill. But I still kind of have a bit of a temperature that comes and goes. So 1 minute I'm a bit cold and the next minute I'm kind of like burning up hot. So if you see me getting a bit flushed tonight, you know why that is. But we're not here to talk about me being ill. We're talking about Cursed City tonight. So let's have a look in the chat and see who we've got this evening, because we've got a nice little number for us starting up. Lord Maiden was in nice and early. Hello to you, sir. ASDF as well was in nice and early too. Hello to Connor as well, and Ortega. See you in the rerun, mate, and the catch up. Steve Evans is in as well. Hello, Steve. Chris Warden's in. Got Scott Latham in. Mark Wright. Mark Cox, he's in as well. Hello, mate. He says, I think I might be a last-minute convert to Cursed City. Looking forward to the chat tonight. I've missed the last couple of weeks. Well, tonight, mate, we've had a bit more information from Games Workshop this afternoon, which is perfect timing for me to do a bit more research. So we now know when it's going to launch. We now know when pre-orders go live. We know how much it's going to cost. And now we also know about the gameplay. So I'm going to talk more about the gameplay tonight. So for those of you that haven't seen the information today, I'm going to basically tell you how the game plays and what you can expect. Or if you're on the fence and you're like, I'm not sure if it's for me, I'm not sure if it's something that is exactly what I'm looking for. Maybe you've seen the price and you think, oh, well, the price is okay, but what about the gameplay? I'm going to tell you everything that we know about the gameplay now. We got Blizzard's in as well. Hello to you, mate. We got Cardos Dogforge. He says, hope everyone is well. Nice to see you. Busy's in, saying 125 large. Not bad. Blizzard says, these Lost Worlds Exodus Thundercats are amazing. I've got my box over there, mate, as well. The Pride of the Necromata. I was building mine up the other day. I think I was just kind of, I was almost kind of like lying there just with something to do. I was feeling a bit ropey and I just needed something to occupy my mind. So yeah, I've built them up. I'm waiting for some bases to 3D print to finish them off. But yeah, I've done that. They're all built, if you like. And potentially you might be painting them this Wednesday. We'll see. We've got Raphael, is it Gausko? Hello to you, sir. It says 125 for 50 minis and entire game. How do you know that's the price? It can't be that cheap. It is that cheap, mate. It is confirmed 100%. It is £125 in the UK. It is €155 in mainland Europe. Apparently, it's been confirmed. I've not seen it with my own eyes. I have seen the other ones. But apparently, it's been confirmed at $199 in the US. And based upon the price on Games Workshop site for other products of a similar or same price, my estimate would be $350 Australian dollars. So that gives you an idea on the price. Christian, hello to you, sir. Thank you very much for coming in and wrangling the cats, mate. John Estill's finishing up his rent and rejects. Don't forget, folks, tomorrow is the deadline for any of the Dread Ball teams that you've been painting. I've been blown away by the amount that's been sent to me. I can't believe how many people have been painting. So if you're taking part in the Dread Ball painting challenge, tomorrow evening is the deadline, so I can show them off on Wednesday's live stream. Derek Hodge, hello to you, mate. He said, today I've been mostly painting Icky. I don't even know what that is, mate. Lord Maiden said he's gluing some Blood Bowl models together. Spanky Taz says, why are you buggers? Evening all. Hello to you, mate. Hello, Jimmy Higgins as well. Andy Smith says, how are you, pet? How's it hanging? Nice to see you, Andy. Peter Stockdale's in as well. Just Kev says, what's up? Hope we're all well. Cursed City hype. Palmsy saying, evening all. Hope everyone is well. We've got James Zarman as well, saying he's just confirmed with his shop about Cursed City for himself. Fingers crossed your shop gets enough copies, mate. We'll be talking about that soon. Yoakum says, good evening, folks. Just got to finish his Corvus Cabal and some Stormcasts before it's time for Cursed City. Not long now, mate. Spylord's in. Nice to see you. Barry Kleiber, howdy to you, sir. Of course, that's jumped off my screen now when I'm trying to play a catch-up. If we can find it, there we go. Hans Otterson said, first time joining the live show. Glad to see you alive and kicking. I'm alive, mate. Kicking, I'm kind of twitching, I think. I don't know about kicking at the minute. But yeah, I'm on the mend. Thank you very much. Bobby Clark, hello to you, mate. He's been doing some urban bases today. I saw all the ones you'd been sort of prepping, mate. Yeah, that's quite the batch painting, that is. Ed Handley, hello to you. Tasty Brain Drain. We got Marcus Super Pumpkin. Man, he says, hope you're feeling better. Thank you very much, mate. We've got Warwick Dark Edging as well. He says, look like you've done well beating the virus up. Yeah, like I say, I'm still getting a bit of a temperature, kind of up and down a little bit, but otherwise I'm not too bad. Tim Cafferty, hello to you, mate. Jay Subson as well. Peter Mack, A few other folks there saying, I hope you're doing better. Steve Bond just says the menopause. Yeah, I think it kind of is, mate. I think I'm just going through that time of life now. We got Eisenhorn says, yo, nice to see you, mate. Colin Wakeling, good evening. We got James Cameron Clark, said he's just put his name down at his friendly little gaming store as well. Taliesin says, hope you get better for the Cursed City journey. Maybe I've got the curse, mate. Maybe that's what it is. Peter Nicholas, hello to you, mate. Kath Smith, up to you as well. Excuse me while I have a little cough. I'm getting a drink of water. My throat's a bit dry there. Andy Smith says, no offence here, I'm jumping in. Shaggy Wargaming's in as well. Glyn Seymour, nice to see you, mate. He says, mostly busy Monday evenings, but like someone said earlier, I may be a Curse City convert, so keen to catch up. What else we got as well? Arnold Degan says, €155. Yes, that is the confirmed price, mate. €155. Stu McMurtry says, good evening, looking forward to the lottery of the GW website at the weekend. I'll touch on that in a little bit as well. Frantic's in as well. Lee Burns. We've got Dead Hands in as well. Thank you very much, mate. I am feeling a lot better, thanks. And Neil Pilot says $200. That's quite a bit when I just want to buy one miniature. Well, unfortunately, mate, you got to buy the whole box. That's just kind of how it is. We've got Dominic in as well. We've got Warwick.h saying Warcry Catacombs in the US is listed at 210, where they're both 125 in the UK. So 200 seems like it could be 210 in the US. I thought that as well, mate, but somebody said it had been confirmed as $199 online. And Warcry Catacombs is €160 in mainland Europe, and this has been confirmed at €155. So the 199 kind of rings true. They don't always match them up perfectly. They're always there around there. So yeah, I thought it was going to be somewhere between 200 and 210, and it sounds like it's been confirmed at 199. Tim Kelly, nice to see you as well, mate. Thanks for the kind wishes there. Got Mountain Gremlin Games. We've got Eddie Haar. His friend, who's a Warhammer store manager, said they've been told this is a one-time release for Curse City. His store's getting 8 copies total, and that's it forever. I've also heard, mate, that Games Workshop have confirmed that it's not a one-time release. I think that there's short supply for this first run, but that it'll be coming back into stock, mate. So who knows how long you'll have to wait. But apparently, Games Workshop confirmed that it wasn't a one-and-done release. Dominic says, Andy, we'll get you a copy sorted one way or another. Yeah, I'm starting to get a bit squeaky bum now, I'll be honest. John says, looking forward to getting some garden games in soon. My wife today just bought a windbreak on Amazon to put in the garden. Hopefully that'll be enough to kind of just break the wind off so we can play some garden games as well. Andy Smith's in the Spider Lord, awesome there. VJ, good morning to you, mate. He says, looking fit up. I've got a big colour back, mate, but I think it's maybe a bit of a temperature flush now and again as well. Jamie Higgins says, do you think it'd be good to start a Soulblight army? On the one hand, yes, I think it will, because it's going to be like the models that are in there, certainly the enemy models are perfect for a Soulblight army. On the other side, it's a shame that somebody's buying it for a Soulblight army and taking the actual game away from somebody that wants to play the game, if that makes sense. Lee Burns says, was tempted by Curse City, but as I don't play AOS, all the hype had the effect of me ending up buying Blackstone Fortress, as I can use the minis in 40k and kill team. So I guess the hype got me anyway. Tony says, lovely to see you being chipper and able to do your thing. I'm putting a bit of a brave face on, mate, if I'm honest. I'm kind of boiling up a little bit here, but we'll be fine. We'll get through tonight. James Bray, hello to you, mate. VJ says, time for a cuppa before I hit the paint table. Mark Horniff says, evening all, core space painting. James says, it might surprise you, but I think I'll go for it. Peter's been painting his original Asterians. Rob Fannelton says, water out of a Stella glass means you're a gentleman of taste. Yeah, my Guinness pint glass, mate, was in the wash. Eddie Harsin, yeah, friend who's a Warhammer store manager, said it's 199 as well. Luke Pryor, hello to you, mate, as well. Centauria's Art, good afternoon to you, sir. Let's have a look. Who else we got? Dice Tales says, I quite like to buy the game bits, but not the models. You might find there'll be some people selling the bits and pieces, actually, to be honest. But once, because they're just buying them for the model, so you might be able to pick that one up. Spanky Taz says, Lou's bought a windbreaker. Did you take our advice from last week? I mean like a wind shelter, like a windbreak, not a windbreaker. Thordelum says, £125 for the box. That is correct, mate. That's the recommended retail price. Ian, what was that one? Ian Inman says they confirmed it on their Facebook feed. Confirmed what, mate? Confirmed that it's not limited. Vaughan, good evening to you, mate. Luke says, tell me you've nicked the glass from the pub without telling me how you've nicked the glass from the pub. I think it was a Father's Day gifting, like a set from my sons. I think it was like 4 bottles of Stella and a glass, mate. I think it came as a Father's Day gift, so no, I didn't steal it. Tiny War Games, thank you so much for the donation there, mate. It really does makes a huge difference to keeping this channel running. Thank you very much. Mountain Gremlin Games says Guinness, looking forward to that too. Mike White says $200 is a decent price for what you get. Jamie says, anyone know if third-party online shops like Wayland will get them for pre-order at 10 as well? Yes, all online stores, all third-party retailers, friendly local gaming stores can all start selling the pre-orders at 10 a.m. on Saturday or 1 p.m. Eastern time if you're in the US. Some places are taking kind of like interest lists or pre-order lists now, but they won't have their final numbers confirmed till probably Thursday, Friday of this week, later this week. So anybody that is promising you copies, just be wary, okay? Until they've got their final numbers in and they know exactly how many they've got to sell. Because I've heard that basically most friendly local gaming stores are getting somewhere between about 6 and 8 copies. They're not getting a lot. So just be careful. If you've got a good relationship with your friendly local gaming store guy and he's going to put one aside for you, regardless of how many he gets, great. But if he's taking pre-orders for 10, 15, 20 copies off different people, just be a little bit wary. Tony's saying his friendly local gaming store debating the price at the moment, but their initial projection is 110 from them. If I'm perfectly honest, I don't see why any friendly local gaming store should be doing discounts on this now. They're going to sell them all anyway, and they're not getting enough copies to kind of make the kind of money that they normally do. They're going through rough times at the minute. They need to be supported to stay open, and it's going to be an absolute car crash for a lot of them. Like, their sites are just going to crash. It's going to be a bit of a nightmare on Saturday. Yes, it's not a one and done thing, but we don't know how long we're going to have to wait to get that second wave in. So of course it's going to be a bit of a car crash on Saturday. So if it was my friendly local gaming store, would I discount it? Probably not. At the end of the day, we need to support these shops and keep them open. And if they're not getting enough copies to kind of make money through volume, then I think we need to kind of support them in other ways. Ed says it does seem to be 8 per store regardless of size. Yeah, I think it doesn't matter how big your store is. It seems like they're getting 8 copies in. I've heard a rumour that they've made less copies of this than they did of Blood Bowl. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a thing. Different gear. Yeah, not 68, mate. 6 to 8. So 6, 7 or 8 copies. Not many copies. Mark Zielinski, hello mate. He says allocations again. I'll go over this later on after I've talked about Curse City, but there's a very good reason why there's allocations. James is saying, hoping it's not limited like Indominus. I think it's going to be limited in the fact that they've only made so many, but their plan is to make more. It's just a case of when and how many they make more. And Zingbo says his friendly little game store Peter have a order cap of 15 copies. They ordered them all. I hope they don't end up with only 8. This is exactly my point, mate. It doesn't matter how many they've ordered. They're all going to be told how many they're getting. So this is happening everywhere. There's a gaming store called The Outpost in the UK who've been told they're only getting 8 copies already, I think. So they're essentially being told they are taking people's interest by email, and then they're literally going to just kind of draw 8 names out of a hat and tell them before Saturday that they've been confirmed one, and tell everybody else that you haven't got one, basically. So that people have the opportunity on Saturday to go elsewhere and buy it, to be fair. So we've got a good number in now. I think what I'm going to do is I will just go to here and set this away recording here so we can use this for a clips video for tomorrow. Tonight I'm going to be talking about Curse City, about the gameplay experience. Not so much about the price. The price is the price, but I will touch on it. So we've got all information. But if you have any questions about the gameplay as we go through this, please just type at BlackJack Legacy. I won't be able to see the chat while I'm looking at the different, like my notes and stuff like that. But I will come back and kind of catch those questions. So if you've got any specific questions, at BlackJack Legacy in the chat, and I'll come back and reference them. So excuse me while I have a little drink because my throat's dry. So tonight, folks, we're going to be talking about Curse City. We now have the date for pre-order. We now have the official price. We now know the launch date when it'll actually be in your grubby little hands. And we also know a lot about the gameplay. So I'm going to tell you all that information, and I'm going to take you through the gameplay step by step. and tell you what kind of game it's going to be. Lots of people have been kind of waiting on the fence saying, I want to see the YouTube playthroughs, I want to see what the YouTubers unboxing it and stuff, I want to see what they say before I pre-order it. I think the worry is by the time you wait and see those unboxings, it'll probably already be sold out of that first wave. So the more information you can have prior to Saturday, the more informed choice you can have. So let me get my slide up here and we'll go across to here. So yes, we do have the pre-order date. It's going to be Saturday the 3rd of April. That's this coming Saturday. And pre-orders will go live at 10 a.m. in your local time zone. So you can order from Games Workshop direct. It is 1 copy per person. Make sure if you do go to the Games Workshop website, you've already logged in with your My Warhammer account and all that kind of stuff. Don't be sitting trying to kind of fill in all your details. It's kind of like at 10 on Saturday morning. It's going to be 10 a.m. across all time zones, across all friendly local gaming stores as well, unless you're in the US where all of their pre-orders always go live at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And that's just to make sure that all of the US basically gets it dropped at exactly the same time. The price has been confirmed. I will 100% confirm this. I've seen it with my own eyes from the GW website. The price has been confirmed at £125 in the UK. It is 155 euros in mainland Europe. It's 199 US dollars over in America. And my estimate for these, because I haven't seen the Australian price, my estimate on these based upon using Warcry Catacombs as an example, which is £125 in the UK and 160 euros in Europe, is that I think it'll be about 350 Australian dollars. So it might be a little bit more, it might be a little bit less, but that gives you a benchmark figure to kind of plan for. So as I've just mentioned in the live stream, actually product seems to be low stocked for this initial release. GW have said one per customer. And it seems to be the information coming back from the indie stores is that stock is really low. I'm kind of hearing 8 copies per store, which is not a lot when you think sort of like Indomitus, for example. Stores were getting 800 copies of Indomitus, and that still went nuts. So yeah, it's a little bit of a worry, that one. But we have been told it's not a limited release. It might be a limited amount for this first wave, but there will be restocks at some point in the future. When those restocks come, how long we'll have to wait, I have no idea. So if you really want it, it's probably worth getting on the pre-order on Saturday. So the gameplay itself, the way it's set up is, the way the game is set up is you do different kinds of journeys when you start the game. And journeys are essentially different types of missions when you're playing the game. So there are 4 different types of journeys. The first one are hunt journeys. And these reduce Radakar, the wolf's influence across Ulfenkorn. And see, you have to kill a number of enemies to basically reduce his influence. I'll come on to influence and fear in a second. The next one is a scavenge journey. Scavenge journeys see you searching for treasure. The treasure you find can give you sort of like artifacts that you can use to boost your attacks and things like that. It might have you finding, what's it called again? Like sort of, I forget the name of it, it'll come up in my notes later on, but kind of like little gem things that allow you to upgrade your weapons and stuff as well between games. The other kind of journeys are deliverance journeys. These help you reduce the fear of the people of Ulfenkorn. And these ones are very different in the fact that they have a rolling map which generates as you explore. So I'll go on to show you in a second, but the other 3 journeys, the hunt, the scavenge and decapitation, all have pre-generated maps. Basically, you kind of have a card, it tells you how to lay out the map for this particular mission. However, deliverance ones are kind of randomly generated maps. And decapitation journeys are the ones where you go out to defeat the leaders. So I assume what you're trying to do is you have to keep an eye on the fear of the people and not let it get too high. You've got to keep an eye on the influence of Radakar the wolf and not let it get too high. You probably need to go and kind of explore and get some better weapons and better artifacts to enable you to be strong enough to take on the bosses, and then you'll go on a mission to basically go and decapitate the bosses. So it feels like quite a nice kind of mission generator and a way to work through the game. So as I mentioned before, there's these kind of 2 things. So yeah, fear and influence. And in the city of Ulfenkorn, it's subject to these 2 conditions. So while you work your way to destroy each of Radakar's lieutenants and the Wolf King himself, you need to keep an eye on both of these factors. If the citizens succumb to the fear, Ulfencon is basically swallowed up. And if Radakar's influence in the city grows too strong, then the Wolf King will destroy your airship, the Adamant, and put an end to your efforts. So it's almost like there's a few things that's counting against you in the game. Excuse me. There's a time mechanic, which we'll come on to, but then there is a fear clock sort of ticking up, and there's an influence clock ticking up, which you can bring back down again. So again, there's something that's kind of pushing you through this to speed up, and not just basically just keep going, doing missions, searching for treasure, basically, because the other stuff's ticking away, and you need to keep an eye on it. Then this is an example of a hunt map, basically how you would set this up. Let me just zoom into this a little bit and just show you in a bit more detail. So you can see that this will show you the different tiles that you need to have in order to be able to complete this particular one. And this one is for the alleyways. So yeah, that's what the cards will look like. What you'll see as well is you'll see these 3 red dots that are on the map here. Now these 3 red dots show where the objective markers go. Now those objective markers are where you can search for treasure when you're kind of in your adventure, when you're on your quest. However, they are also the spawn points for the enemies that come onto the map. So how you basically spawn your enemies is you begin the encounter by drawing the same number of encounter cards as those red dots or those objectives on the map. So on the last one, there was 3 objectives, so you draw 3 encounter cards. And this will tell you what enemies come into the journey. So what you can see here is on an encounter card. This one is basically for the Ulfen Watch, which is the skeleton kind of soldiers. And you can see here on the levels, there's a level 0 all the way up to level 5. And this is the level that your heroes are at. As they progress through the game, they kind of level up, they get stronger. And unfortunately for you, the stronger they get, the more dangerous the enemies are. So for example, I don't know what the card is underneath there, but this card on top would see you drawing at level 0 when you're first starting the game, would see you having 2 Ulfen Watch soldiers on one of those 3 sort of spawn points. The game is broken down into these 5 turns. So you have the journey phase, the destiny phase, the initiative phase, the activation phase, and the event phase. So yeah, let's very quickly go through those one by one. The journey phase is split into 2 steps. The first step is the nightfall phase. And here we can see this, and we kind of guessed, and we asked we had loads of ideas about what this would be, and it certainly is what we thought it was. The nightfall phase starts by moving this token, that's just under those fingers there, let me move it so you can see it, 1 space around the edge of what's called the Sky Vessel board. And this denotes time moving on within the game. So not only are we worried about fear kind of climbing, not only are we worried about influence of Radakar climbing, we're also worried about the time as well. There's a time mechanic going on. Because obviously, as you know, we're in a city which is kind of full of vampires. When it gets to night time, a lot of these characters basically kind of become inspired, become more dangerous. The vampires come out at night time, that kind of stuff. So it's something to watch for. The other step in the journey phase is something called a quest step, which we don't really know a lot about. We know that it's not used in every one of the different journey types, and it wasn't used in the example in the video, so we don't know much about it at this stage, so it's probably something to watch for. So the next one is the Destiny phase. The Destiny phase sees us taking the 5 black Destiny dice. If you're familiar with Silver Tower or Blackstone Fortress, it works exactly the same way. You roll those 5 dice, and any doubles, any triples, any quadruples, any quintuples, I think they're called, for 5, the same. You basically remove them. So in this example here, there is a 6, a 3, and a 4, and 2 2s. You'd get rid of the 2 2s. You'd take the 6, the 4, and the 3, and you put them basically in the white area on the Sky Vessel board. And these are basically a common pool that can be used by any of the heroes to do extra actions. And that'll make sense if you've either played the games before or when I come on and explain a little bit more. So next in the initiative phase, each player rolls their initiative dice. So each player starts with 4 initiative dice for the 4 spaces on their card there, and they basically roll them and place whatever the numbers are into those 4 squares. Now, as you take damage during the game, These basically fill in with wounds. I'll show you an image of that later on. And this reduces the number of activation dice that you'll roll. So as you take wounds, you can do less things, basically. And eventually, once you've taken sort of total wound, once you've got all 4 squares blocked out, if you take one more wound, your character is taken out of the game. There are ways you can heal up. There are ways you can kind of mitigate some of that. Obviously, if you've got all 4 sort of blocked up, you'd be thinking, well, how can I do any actions because I've got no dice? That's where the Destiny dice in the common pool come in. Next, during the initiative phase, again, the leader, or one person basically of your hero, the folks controlling your heroes, is the leader person basically, and they make an initiative deck by taking a card for each of the heroes that are playing the mission and any enemy groups that you've pulled out from the encounter deck. You shuffle them and then you place them along this combat track here. So if you're familiar with Blackstone Fortress, you'll know how this is basically, where this is in the order that each of the different models, both heroes and enemy models, it's which order that they activate in. You can also spend one of your activation dice to do something called a gambit, which allows you to kind of rejig the order of that. So if all of your enemies are going first and then you're going last, that might not be the right way for you to do it. So there is an opportunity to try and influence that. Here we can see basically this is now the activation phase, where you do all the different actions that are available to you using the activation dice that are on your card and the common Destiny dice as well. So let me just zoom into this one as well so we get a bit more detail. You can see here in this let me do, I wonder if I can do that, in this circle thing around here. We'll zoom back in again. You can see that basically it is a move of 3 and 4. It costs 1 dice of any number to do a move action. So if you've got all 1s, at least you can still move. But it takes a dice of a 3+ to be able to run. And here you can see a normal move is 3 squares. A run move is 4 squares. You can attack using your weapons here. So let me just move that down. So here, Yeltsin has 3 different weapons here. He has an Ardent Blade, which basically can be used on a 1+. So basically, any dice that you've got, you can at least use a melee attack with your Ardent Blade. Melee attacks have to attack an enemy model in an adjacent square to you. It shows that you roll the red dice, the red activation dice. I forget what that is. I think it's is it? Yeah, I don't think it's 8-sided. It might be 10-sided dice or something. I can't remember now. And on the dice, these are custom dice. There is blanks, there is 1s, and there is 2s. A blank is a miss. A 1 is just a normal success, and in this case would do 2 damage. And a 2 basically is a critical success, and in this instance would do 3 damage. We then have the Judgment, which is, I think, is his gun, to be fair. And this goes on a 5+, so you would have to use one of your dice that is a 5 or a 6 in order to do that ranged attack. Ranged attacks have to be in line of sight and have to be not in adjacent squares, so there has to be a range between them. Here you can see you roll 2 of the, I think they're D4s. You have to roll 2 of the D4 dice, and again a normal hit would do 2 damage, a critical hit would do 4 damage. And then Firewood Stakes here basically says dual, which means that it can either be ranged or it can be melee attack, and there's no kind of cost next to that one, and that's because it is part of this thing here called Finisher. Part of this Ruthless unique ability, where it says each time an attack roll made for this hero is successful, if the target is still visible, a hero can make 1 free Firewood Stakes weapon action against the same target. So it's a good point to say that basically all the heroes have these unique abilities as well. And then they also have this thing called Path to Glory, which basically, if they can inspire, and it flips the card over, and it generally makes them a little bit stronger and stuff. I'll come on to that in a second. There are some other things you can do. You can search objectives using a 4+ on a dice. You can call in the Skyship to come and pick you up at the end of a mission as well on a 4+ once you've completed the mission that you need to do. You can also try and heal up as well. I think I'll talk about that later on. So yeah, so that's basically how the actions work. Here you can see the card when it's inspired. So generally, what happens is once the character is inspired, it generally makes them more effective in combat, faster or better in defense. I think you can see here that I think does it move? No, I don't think it moves any faster, but I think the dice, the dice for the blade are improved, the dice for the judgment's improved as well, and I think the damage output has also been improved. So that's what happens as your model basically inspires. When it's the turn of your enemies to attack or for them to activate, you roll what's called the quest dice. This is a 12-sided dice, and you consult the behavior table. So for these Ulfin Watch here, you would roll the dice. Let's say that we got a 5 there, as we show on the top. That would mean on a 3 to 8, they're going to charge. If it was a 1 to a 2, you can basically bring back a model that's being killed. And on a 9 to 12, it's something called Dance Macabre, which lets them make a move action and then make a charge action. They also have their rusted weapons as well, so they can only do melee attacks. They use 2 of the D6 bone-coloured dice, and they either do 1 damage for a hit or 2 damage for a critical hit. Excuse me. The only difference here is that when an enemy attacks you, you can get to roll one of your defense dice. If you roll a normal success, that saves 1 point of damage. If you roll a critical success, that saves 3 points of damage. So there is some mitigation as well when you're being attacked by the enemies. What's this one? Yeah, damage. So this is where we can see where we take damage. If I zoom in there, you can see that as well. So those little cards with the cut on, you basically, every time you take a point of damage, you place them over one of these squares. As I said before, once that's completely full, you can only take 1 more point of damage and then your model is taken out. You can use an action called recuperate, where you can try and heal up. So what you do is, as you can just see in the bottom here, there is a defense dice, which is a D4. You can use a 4+ of one of your activation dice to recuperate. You roll your defense dice. On a normal success, you can heal 1 wound, or you can flip what's called a grievous wound, which I'll come on to in a second, back to a normal wound side. And if you get a critical hit, you can save 2 wounds, or you can remove a grievous wound completely from your card. So there are ways that you can kind of heal up as well. So in the middle of battle and stuff like that, you know, if you've killed the enemies and you want to try and kind of take a bit of a breather and recuperate, you can use some of your turns to do that. However, don't forget the fear is increasing, the influence is increasing, the clock's still ticking around as well. So you can't hang around just kind of doing that too often. In the game, there's other effects as well that you can have as well, such as you may suffer being stunned, you may get fatigued, you may get buried, you may get cursed, you can become diseased, and you can become trapped as well, just to name but a few. And some of these grievous wounds basically will do sort of some of these effects as well. And then lastly, basically, there is the event phase, which is essentially just mopping up. It's kind of where we check win conditions, that type of stuff. And then you roll on the event table with the quest dice, and it might bring back a downed hero model. It might give enemies a free activation, or it might cause something called a crisis. Now, a crisis might see you being asked to go and kind of save some civilians, or maybe answering a mysterious call kind of down the back streets, somebody shouting for help. And what will happen is whoever is the leader will nominate one of his party to go off on their own. So everybody else is still kind of working their way through the quest. This one player has to go off on their own and try and kind of solve this crisis. If they do, it might result in kind of treasure and stuff. If they don't, it might kind of increase their fear. It might increase the influence. It might cause all sorts of problems. So that's essentially the basic kind of the rules of the game. If you're familiar with Silver Tower, you'll see lots of familiarity in there as well. If you're familiar with Blackstone Fortress, you'll see lots of familiar stuff in there as well. But for me, it seems really right up my street. I love the idea of these crisis things. I love being able to kind of send one person off on their own. I love the idea of trying to mitigate the fear and the influence and the time clock and deciding which missions to do. Kind of like fear's getting a little bit high. We need to go in and do a deliverance mission to bring the fear back down. Or the influence is getting too high. We need to go in and do a hunt mission and bring the influence back down. And we need to get some more kind of treasure and stuff before we go and attack the bad guys. I like this narrative sort of play out in this. So that's the layout of it. That's a bit of a whistle-stop tour of what the game's involved. I hope that helps if anybody's got any questions. I'm going to go over and check into the live stream chat now and see if anybody has any specific questions about it. But if you're watching this on the catch-up, please do subscribe to the channel for more Curse City stuff, and I'll see you in another video. So, folks, that is that. Let's have a look, and I'll pop back and see what else we've got. Oh, what's somebody saying? Weird audio. I checked it all as well, before I started. Typical. I tested everything before I started. Maybe I'm just a bit loud. I wonder if I was just. Yeah, maybe I was just talking a bit loud. I'll check it back when I come to have a look at it. Peter says I'll wait and see if it's reprinted. Oh, hang on. Let me go back and check some of these things. James Hanna says, can we assume physical GW stores will have how many? I don't think they'll have many in either, mate, either. I think the whole plan is they're trying to just kind of ship as many as they can through the website. Tom in London says it's artificial scarcity, or do we have to consider that they have production capacity issues? They 100% have production capacity issues, mate. They are maxed out. They can't produce anymore. They're behind from the summer when they had to shut down for 3 months. They've not been able to catch up. So what they seem to be doing, and I might talk about this later on, what they seem to be doing, let me just drop this volume down a little bit. What they seem to be doing is they seem to be dropping the physical numbers. In fact, now's a good time as any actually to talk about this. They're completely maxed out capacity-wise. They can't make any more. So if you're a business in that position, you do a few things. The first thing you do is you basically cancel all your promotions. If you're kind of selling stuff cheap, don't sell it cheap anymore, because you might as well sell everything you have for as much money as you can. GW don't have promotions, but what they do is they send them to friendly local gaming stores at a discounted rate. So the first thing they're doing is they're pulling back on how much they send out to friendly local gaming stores, and they're selling more of it through their own retail chain. This way they maximize the amount of money that they can make from the amount of products that they can physically fit into the production schedule. That's the first thing you do. The second thing you start to do is you start to kind of bump the price up a little bit. You make as much, if you know it's all going to sell out, you bump the price up a little bit. And that's why we're starting to see some things, the prices are just creeping up higher than we probably expect them to be. So artificial scarcity, I don't think it is artificial scarcity. Does it have a nice knock-on effect for GW that they always sell out because there's this fear of missing out now? Absolutely it does, but I think it is a genuine limit on how much they can produce. It's like if you think of it as if you're digging a hole, right? You can only dig at one speed, right? And if you stop for 2 weeks, you don't have the opportunity to dig twice as fast to kind of catch up to where you are. That's exactly what happens with Games Workshop's production. That basically, if they stop for 3 weeks, like they did, was it 3 weeks or was it 3 months? They stopped for a while anyway last summer. They physically can't catch up to fill that backlog. So what they're doing is they're making slightly less of each thing to gradually allow them to catch up with back where they are. But what they're doing in the meantime is they're pushing more and more of them through their own retail chains to make as much money as they can. So they might have less to sell, but they're making more money per unit from them because they're selling them themselves, not selling them for half price, for example, to friendly local gaming stores. Spylord saying even a massive company like Wayland will only get about 20, I reckon. The rumours are, mate, everyone's getting 8. Doesn't matter what size you are. Doesn't matter your size. Busey saying, I think this is one to let the hype go down a little and get it when you can. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of disappointed people. I think it's, unfortunately, mate, I think it's, if you want it, try and pre-order it. There's no point moaning about it on Saturday afternoon saying, oh, well, I went to try and pick it up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I went to try and order it and it was all gone. If you want it, get on it at 10 o'clock. Be ready. Be refreshing at kind of 5 to 10. Get ready for it. Because if you miss out because you weren't there at 10 o'clock, you've only got yourself to blame kind of thing. If you were there at 10 o'clock and you miss out, then unfortunately there wasn't enough to go around. But anybody that kind of complains on Saturday or Sunday afternoon or kind of Wednesday and say, oh, I'll try to order it, but there was none left, you've only got yourself to blame at that point. Yeah, apologies if the sound was crackling, folks. It was obviously just a little bit too loud, I think. I don't know why I was like I say, I tested it all before I started, but maybe I was getting a bit loud, a bit excited. Jimmy Higgins says, do you know if I can play it single player? Thanks, you can play it single player, mate. You can take control of kind of the 4 different... If you're going to play it with 4 heroes, you just control all 4 heroes. You can also play it with like an overlord or like a games master as well, because instead of the leader basically deciding, like rolling the dice, the quest dice for which enemies come out and stuff like that, instead of the leader choosing how to move the enemies, you can have basically like a games master type thing who would control that part of the game as well. Shaggy Wargaming says your audio's clicking and popping. Yeah, sorry mate. Let's have a look. Let's have a look down here. Just care. XCOM started preventing the game for this day. Skull Munch says, nice, Peter. I just got my latest magazine with the ghosty leader for Warcry. A nice one. Retro Arcade Fan says, where's the best place to pre-order in the US? Personally, I think unless you've got a friendly local gaming store that you want to support, mate, you might want to go direct to GW, who will probably have more copies than any of the friendly local gaming stores. Dice Tail says, were those clocks in Blackstone Fortress 2? I don't think they were, mate. No, I think it's a new edition. Does this game require a Games Master at direct events like Blackstone Fortress? No, it doesn't, mate. Blackstone Fortress didn't need a Games Master either. That basically somebody basically in the game, they just basically moved the pieces around. You can play this solo. You can play it up to 4 players. If you want to play it with a 5th player, the 5th player can basically just move the models around if you like. Dominic saying, I need to run. Hope everybody will have a nice evening. Thank you very much, mate. Ian Emmons says, poor Shadows of a Hammerhall. It never gets a name drop when people refer to previous versions. I wasn't a big fan of it, if I'm honest, mate. That's why. Let's have a look. Yeah, I think it was just me getting a bit excited with the microphone, mate. Like I say, I tested it, but maybe I was a bit too loud. Busey saying, hopefully the clipping is not on the recorded live clips. It will 100% be on the recorded ones. No, everything's plugged in fine, mate. It's just hello Drive Through Games, by the way. Hello Joel. I think I just it was a bit loud. I think that was all. Let's have a look. Christian says, grab your OG Blackjack Legacy t-shirts and hoodies. Thank you very much, mate. No, everybody guessing what they thought it was. No, there's no multiple sources coming in. None of that stuff. Everything was sorted. Everything's muted. There was none of that stuff. I don't think. Timothy Alicon, hello to you, mate. He says, how are you feeling about all the news and price tag? The price tag, to be honest, mate, is exactly where I thought it would be. When I did the video kind of talking about the rumour that it was going to be $300, I said there's no way I think it's going to be $300. I think it's going to be £125. Turns out that's exactly what it is. That's kind of where I thought it would be based upon the fact of how much Blackstone Fortress was. I knew it would go up in price, but I didn't think it couldn't go up too much when Blackstone Fortress is still available. There are more models in this set, which means that it's going to command a little bit more. Prices have gone up, like I've just been explaining about kind of limited amounts, so price gets pushed up a little bit. So yeah, £125 exactly where I thought it would be. I said yesterday in our Patreon group, 150 was absolutely maximum, my limit. I would not spend a penny more over 150. You got to have a cut-off point somewhere, that what you think the game is worth to you personally, and that was what my limit was. So I'm grateful that it's under where I thought it could go to. But yeah, £125 was definitely my guess. All the news, I'm really excited by the gameplay. I really enjoyed Silver Tower. It's one of my favourite games. I'm looking forward to picking this up and playing it. Rob Farnelson says, I'm not a huge GW fan, but I enjoyed all my games of Blackstone Fortress. Really solid engine that actually does a good job of tying itself into 40k. I think this will be the same. Yeah, I feel like it's kind of had a few... It's had a few upgrades and it's had a few things ironed out. I think one thing that they've done differently is in Blackstone Fortress, you rolled for each individual model what it did, I think. And in this game, I think you roll just to see what that group does, which I think should speed things up a little bit. I also think that in Blackstone Fortress, you couldn't heal grievous wounds, or it wasn't easy to. You can in this game. However, there's also that time mechanic that's pushing you on as well. Warwick says the problem is going to be those of us who are on local time when it goes to and still cannot get through the web store because that's what happens with Piety and Pain gone in 2 minutes. Yeah, I think that's just how it is, mate. That's exactly what's going to happen. That you need to be there bang on at 10 a.m. You need to be kind of ready to wear and go. You need to have your details all put in there. You need to have your credit card details saved so that it just dumps them straight in and you're not sitting typing numbers in and all that kind of stuff. Hopefully, as they've explained, we'll see more stock coming in the near future as well, and people won't have to wait too long. But if you're wanting to get it on the first wave, you're going to have to be there for pre-order. Let's have a look here. James is saying it honestly feels like this one will be one to wait for a reprint. I'll wait for a reprint if I don't get it at launch. That's kind of like, that's unfortunate. That's just how it is. But of course, I'm going to try and get it. Kaylee Anderson says, GM in Blackstone Fortress look quite boring, literally no decision making involved. I think this is going to be very similar, Kaylee, to be honest. I think you're essentially rolling the dice for the quest dice. You're rolling the dice to see what the enemies kind of do. You're not making a choice. I mean, you could make a choice, I suppose. You could house rule it and make the choice yourself. And then, so for example, if it says that the Ulfin Watch move or they charge, you'll get to decide as the Overlord player, if you like, the GM. You'll get to decide which hero model you're going to charge against. I guess that's as much as you'll probably do. But I think it's more tacked on really, it's more an option thing as opposed to an exciting gameplay experience thing. DRC Fungus is good afternoon from the US and evening. Good evening to you, or good afternoon, sir. Max Enst says greets from South Germany. Spider Lord says I've sold a load of board games, so I'll have a go on Saturday, but if not, I reckon it'll be reprinted in July. May the odds be in your favour. I think the problem is every time they go back and reprint stuff, something else doesn't get made. And they've got something planned for the summer, which my prediction is I think AOS 3.0 is coming. So I think they're going to be, all kind of production is going to be kind of banging away at that at the minute. They've taken a few weeks off recently of releases to try and slow it down. This weekend's release, for example, this weekend's pre-orders is only Cursed City plus the book. There's no other pre-orders this weekend. I think there's another book, to be fair, but Cursed City is the only miniatures pre-order this weekend coming. I think it's going to take a little while to get stock back in for this one. Max Ernst says, OMG, do we know price for the box? Yes, in Germany, mate, it is going to be €155 for you, sir. Just Kev says, what do you think we'll see in the style of expansions? I think we'll probably see more of those vampires coming, those really nice vampires that we've seen. It wouldn't surprise me if we see more of the what they called the not the soul blight, the kind of ghosty things that were in AOS 2.0. What were they called? Not Soul Reavers. Somebody will tell me. Was it Soul Blight? You know, the kind of ghosty things. I think we'll probably see an expansion with them as well. Potentially, we might see some other kind of new model expansions as well, which help also fill out the Soul Blight army down the line as well. Ken Trius has not got much experience with them, but would I need to pre-order the accompanying book also? I fancy reading it. You don't need. If you want it, you should pre-order it as well. I don't know how limited those books will be, but they tend not to sell out the same way. If you want the super limited book, which is kind of like 1,200 copies or something signed by the author, I don't know how much it is. It's going to be expensive, but you will definitely need to pre-order that one. John Ashley says, I'm looking for a standalone group type game. This may fit the bill. Yeah, for me personally, mate, it's perfect. I can play it solo before it's going to be a little while before people can still get together indoors to play games. It gives me an opportunity to try and paint it up before that time comes. It also gives me an opportunity to play it solo as well if I want to. So yeah, that's why I'd rather have it now. I think if I end up waiting until like July, August time to pick it up, I think some of the shine will have gone off it a little bit. I'll probably be playing other games by then because things will have like sort of unlocked by then. I'll be playing other games with people, and part of me thinks if I have to wait until July, August time, the hype will be dead, and I'll probably end up just not bother picking it up and playing other things. So it's it's more of a kind of like a perfect storm of it's a game I really want at a time I want to play it now. I'm not sure if I'll still want to, like, I'm not sure if I'll still want it by the time August, September comes, if you like. Adam says, you have more chances of getting a turn for the COVID vaccine than a copy of Curse City. Yeah, you'd be surprised, mate. Rob Funnelson, you absolute legend, my friend. That's blown me away. It says, not sure if you were ill with COVID. I was ill with COVID, mate. Technically, I still am ill with COVID. I'm locked down in the house until Thursday this week. I can't leave the house until Thursday. And he says, I'm going through it now. I'm fine. I want to say thank you for working through whatever illness for us. Get well soon, brother. Thank you very much, mate. Yeah, it's not nice, mate. I mean, I'll be perfectly honest. I've been ill for a week. It's not been nice, but it's not been anything too terrible for me personally. I've kind of I've had the sweats. I've been really tired. I've been in bed by 8 o'clock most nights, but it's not like I haven't been in hospital. I haven't had breathing difficulties and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm battling through now a little bit. The sweats are still coming out, but I'm craving talking to people. Tony Howell, thank you very much for the donation, you legend as well, mate. Thank you very much, folks. Very, very generous. Right, I need to go back to the chat there because I think that made it like jump massively up the screen there. I missed loads of stuff there. Thank you very much, man. Two of you blow me away, mate. And Davison, yeah, it was an excited issue. That's exactly what it was, mate, I think. Kaylee saying it'll be proper scalped. I'm not sure how much scalping we'll see. I think if you're limited to buying one from GW and the gaming stores are limited, of course people will try and buy multiple copies. I'm sure they will. I would encourage you, do not pay scalping prices. Scalpers are trying to make some money on it, right? It's not very kind of ethical, but they're not doing anything illegal. However, that only exists if you pay £500 for a £125 box set. If you pay over the odds for it, that's where the scalpers. What you really want is scalpers to end up with a load of boxes that they can't shift and they have to sell them at cost price just to get their money back. That's what I'd rather see, to be fair. Max says, do you think this game is available in different languages? I think it is, mate, because when I saw it on the European site, I think there's two options. There's an English version in euros, and there is a foreign version as well. So I looked on the French site, for example, to get the French prices, and I think there's a French version. Frantic says, rolling for the whole group was a typical house rule a lot of people did to speed things up. I didn't realise that, mate. Yeah, they've included that now. John Ashley says £125 sterling means roughly 280 here in Canada plus tax, so over 300. Have a look on Games Workshop site. Have a look and see how much Warcry Catacombs is in your region, and that will be roughly what you will pay for Cursed City. Don't try and convert it like with normal kind of conversion rates. GW don't use them. Whatever the price of Warcry Catacombs in your region is roughly what this will cost. DRC Fungus says US 175. It's $199, mate. Christian sharing the link there as well for the merchandise. Thank you very much, Christian. Really appreciate it. Somebody, I think, was it Daniel Engel I saw today, had just bought some. Christian, thank you for the text message there I've just seen as well. Yeah, I think it was Daniel had bought the hoodies and the baseball cap and a dice bag or something. Thank you very much, mate. Spylord says 176 watching and only 60 likes. How many likes have we got? I can't even see the likes from here. 70 likes. Come on, let's see if we can get some more likes, folks. Hero of the Table says, hello all, I'm looking forward to getting this game. John says, I have a hello, by the way, Hero of the Table. Thank you very much for coming in. G Kwan says, I want it so much, but sadly I can't afford it. Do you think this will be a one-time pre-order and then gone? No, I don't think it's going to be like is it Petey and Pain or Pitey and Pain, whatever it's called. I don't think it's going to be like that. GW have said it's going to be reprinted. The problem is, I don't know how long you'll have to wait for it to be reprinted. That's the issue. But yeah, I think if you don't get it this time, there is still an opportunity to get it down the line. A bit like Blackstone Fortress. Blackstone Fortress sold out. It was reprinted later. Blood Bowl sold out. It was reprinted later. I just think in the current climate, with everything that's going on, we might wait longer for reprints than ordinarily that you would. Like if you remember when they reprinted Indomitus boxes, like it went up for sale in kind of like August time, didn't it? And they didn't do the reprints until December or something. So I think we could end up with something similar along them lines. John says I have but one like to give. Thank you. Spider Lord says AOS 3 for summer. Yes. Horus Heresy box set for Black Friday is my bet. Nah, I don't think so, mate. I don't think so. Night Haunt, that's the one I was trying to think of. I couldn't remember what they're called. Night Haunt, that's what I'm thinking of. Everybody screamed at me now. Blizzard says, yeah, I think I'll pass for now at least. I'd rather drop the 200 on more Malifaux. I mean, that's the thing as well. If it's like, you don't have to buy this. It's like it's just a game at the end of the day. It's just toy soldiers in a game. So buy it if you want it. Like people who are saying like, oh well, it's not for me. It's not for you. That's absolutely fine. There's plenty of games out there. There are also plenty of people who are really excited for it. So what I don't want is people kind of like sort of raining on their parade. If somebody's excited about it, let that person be excited about it. Everybody deserves to be excited about their hobby and the things that they're excited about. Phil Campbell says the other locations on the map will probably get expansions. Yeah, I think so as well, mate. Thank you again, Robert, for the donation there as well, mate. A huge donation, mate. I think that is the biggest donation I think I've ever had. Thank you very much, mate. And Tony Howell as well. Thank you, sir. Luke saying, did they say when it'll release is and when it'll arrive? So pre-orders this weekend, mate. I think it's only a 1 week pre-order, so it should be the week after. Normally, if you order from Games Workshop, they normally they arrive maybe the Monday after release, because they don't ship them early for that matter. Rob says, I'm about the same. Been about a week. My roommate is in hospital though. He's getting better. Yeah, both me and my wife basically kind of have had it. So she's lost her sense of smell. It's kind of come back a little bit and gone again. The two of us have just been kind of exhausted, really. Like just drained, a little bit lethargic, sleeping a lot, trying to look after a 4-year-old at the same time. I managed to kind of struggle through last Monday's live stream, because that was like the first day I had any kind of symptoms really, and I struggled through last Monday's live stream. But then by Tuesday I was absolutely wiped out. I was garbage basically, and then by Friday I felt much better on Friday, but then over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, I was exhausted again. I pretty much just lay around on the sofa all day Saturday and Sunday. So today, yeah, I feel better. I'm a bit sweaty and stuff like that, but yeah, I'm definitely on the mend. John says, I did a day's worth of yard work last Wednesday and it's taken days for my old body to recover. Yeah, I did that about a month ago and stuff. I'm not used to that either. Cass Smith says, scalp the scalpers. Yeah, Warwick says, I'm not sure this will get scalped much unless the rules for Soul Blight models are really good in AOS. I think the problem is, mate, is people will buy this to scalp because it is under limited supply. As soon as GW say 1 copy per person and game stores are saying we're only getting 8 copies in, instantly the kind of like the light bulb goes on. I can sell this for a profit kind of thing. So people are going to try and get their hands on it. Tony says, I like how GW shafted the scalpers with Indomitus. This could be the same. I don't think they really did though, mate. I mean, it was all right saying we're going to reprint it, but the problem was the reprints were so far down the line, people still paid over the odds for it, because it was a case of like, well, you can either pay over the odds and have it now, or you can wait until Christmas and get it. Like if they said it's coming in 2 weeks' time, that would maybe do over the scalpers, but not when it's coming in like kind of 4 or 5 months' time. That doesn't really help. Where are we up to here? Timmy Alcon says, wow, my friendly local gaming store has an awesome reward system. I'll be able to get $70 off my potential copy. Nice one, mate. Yeah, I'm glad you're doing okay, Rob. It's not nice, mate. It's weird. It's because you don't feel really ill, but you just feel exhausted. It's really like sort of just draining, like energy draining. It's weird. Tim Kelly says, Stargrave, £25 out at end of April. Spend the other 100 on sci-fi minis. No, not for me, mate. Kelly says, I'm totally not fussed for the game, but those are some awesome looking Rangers and co. Tony chatting to Peter. John Beltran says, hope you and yours get well soon. Thank you very much, mate. Yeah, like I say, I'm kind of on the mend. I'm not 100% yet, but I'm well enough to kind of to be doing this kind of stuff. Thankfully, I haven't got to kind of go out and do a heavy day's graft kind of thing or anything. My wife went back to work today as well, so she was back on calls today, and my little ones. We all have to isolate and stay at home for 10 days from the first day of symptoms. So we all have to isolate until Thursday this week anyway. But he's on his 2 weeks for Easter holidays now as well. So he's stuck at home. Hopefully we get a little bit of nice weather and get him out in the garden and stuff like that while he's stuck at home. Rob's saying the smell taste will be like after about a week after too. Yeah, I mean, a friend of mine or a friend of my wife's basically had it as well, and he lost his sense of smell and still kind of struggling like months later now to get it back. He's fine health wise, but he's still struggling with his sense of smell. I think it just affects everybody differently. I haven't lost mine, so it's just one of those things, I think. Dave's going to be a while before you're 100%, but just in time for when people can play again. Yeah, it wouldn't be surprised me. I mean, technically, I can start to meet people again from Thursday, Friday this week. And here in the UK, we can start to meet people from other households in our gardens and stuff now. So yeah, maybe by sort of over the weekend, I'm hoping to kind of have a friend over for a couple of beers and maybe play some outdoor games. Ken Triu says, working on an undead or evil army for Kings of War. Loads of these minis will fit nicely. If the game's good, that's a bonus. The game seems good to me, I'll be honest. I was a little bit worried that we were kind of going into this blind. It's almost that feeling of like a Kickstarter. Like, I know all the things I'm going to get, but I've got no idea what the game's going to be like. So it was nice to see that that gameplay video come out today. I'm always a little bit weird when it comes, like when Games Workshop send these review copies, if you like, to YouTubers and stuff. That was just me banging my pen, by the way. They're not allowed to release those videos until pre-orders go live. And the problem is, if you're waiting to see like the review video, by the time you've watched it, it's already sold out. You've missed the boat kind of thing. And unfortunately, so for me, sending it out to YouTubers is a complete waste of time. Either send it out early so they can do the reviews and let people kind of appraise the product before the pre-order window opens, or don't bother sending it out and keep those extra copies to sell to people who actually want to play the game. Because some of the people that get those copies have absolutely no interest. Like, there's no point sending the Cursed City stuff to a load of like 40k players. There's no point sending like Warcry Catacomb set to a load of 40k players, which is exactly what they do. So for me, I'd rather they didn't send any kind of preview copies out, and they actually just kept them to send to actually sell to people, to sell to people who want to buy them. Phil says, my partner and stepdaughter had COVID in November. My partner is still struggling with long COVID. Yeah, you hear about that more and more. I mean, like I see, I other than getting a bit kind of hot and sweaty, like my temperature control's a little bit over the place. I feel fine, really. I'm a bit tired, but like other than that, I'm fine. In fact, I think this is the latest I've stayed up for a week. John says, Stargrave is also very tempting. My miniature collection fits lots of small groups, yeah. And Neil Pyatt says, man, COVID is whack. You're not wrong, mate. Christian sharing the link there as well for Goblin Gaming. What I will say, folks, and I wouldn't normally say this, if you are going to buy Cursed City at the weekend, I would not be forcing you to go through my affiliate link to Goblin Gaming. I would hate to think people were trying to kind of buy it from Goblin Gaming to try and help me out and missing out. So for this one in particular, you buy it where you think you can get it from. I do appreciate folks buying their stuff through Goblin Gaming. The support really does help me. It's what I do this full time. This is my job. This is what pays my wages. These donations, the affiliate links, the buying the t-shirts, all that kind of stuff. It's all what pays my wages and allows me to do this. In this instance, please like kind of give it some thought. Don't do it to try and help me. Do it to make sure that you get the best chance of kind of picking it up. Where are we at? Marco says, do you want me to drop some groceries at your door? We've been getting Sainsbury's deliveries just dropped off on the front doorstep, mate, to be fair. Marcus says, I love this box set. Looking forward to painting it. Yeah, fingers crossed I get one to paint it as well. Chris Dawes says, looking forward to Hellstorm's review of Cursed City then. That's exactly what will happen, mate. That's exactly what will happen. To be fair, the one I have the most admiration for is Ash Barker from Guerrilla Miniature Games. He always puts the effort in to get them painted. He always puts the effort in to kind of at least demonstrate gameplay or go through the rules. There's a lot of other channels basically just kind of lift the lid, show you what's inside. And for me, an unboxing for this kind of stuff, when GW have already done an unboxing weeks ago and we all know exactly what's inside it, that's kind of useless to me, if I'm perfectly honest. I mean, I'm sure there's it's like if those channels have people who have never heard of Cursed City and they're seeing it for the first time on that channel, great for them. They might find it useful, but they'll not be able to buy it by that point. I just find it like unless they're going to give people the time to actually do a proper job of it, it's a little bit of a waste, I think. Where are we up to here? Peter Kuma says, I must admit I stopped following the previews once it took too long to know the price. The price is always comes out the week of pre-orders. That's always the way it is. I think the problem is it wouldn't surprise me if it's been delayed. It feels like they showed, like they were showing a nice little drip feed of stuff. Then all of a sudden there was this like kind of like, here's everything. There you go. This is everything that's in the box. And we were like, well, I wasn't expecting to find all that out. Maybe it's coming soon. And then there was this kind of weird lull of like, oh no, it's maybe it's not ready yet. Maybe we've got some production problems. Maybe we haven't got all the cardboard sent from China yet, or whatever it is. And then all of a sudden in this last week, it's been kind of like, right, oh shit, it's coming out. So painting video. Get all the painting videos up. We're gonna announce it this weekend. So it feels like it's a bit disjointed. It feels like there's something going on behind the scenes where it's been delayed and then it's been kind of like dropped in quick again. It's like, right, we've got it now. Go kind of thing. It does feel like there's been something in the background. Maybe that's one of the reasons why they've maybe delayed it to try and build some more stock up. And unfortunately, that they're not building it up fast enough, so they've had to just say, right, we're going with it kind of thing. Kaylee Anderson says, only really need to send a copy to Ash Barker. There you go, exactly what I said. I also quite like Tabletop Minions, Uncle Atom as well. He tends not to kind of rush his review. He tends to take some time to think about it. I'm going to talk about reviews in a second, actually. He takes some time to think about it. But by that point, it's kind of too late for anybody that's kind of like kind of wanting to pre-order it and stuff. What I don't like is when something is shown as a review, but they haven't played it to kind of give an opinion, if you like. It's just a case of like, oh, look at all these lovely models. Like for something like Cursed City, we all know they're nice models. What we want to know is, what do you think? Or like if we have a YouTube channel that we like their information. We generally like the games that they like. We want to know what they think of the game. So showing us what's in the box doesn't really help. And I think there's a lot of that with this kind of stuff. We don't get reviews. We basically just get this is what's in the box kind of stuff. I want to know what people think of the game. Andy Smith says it's the longest I've stayed up for the week. John says, does COVID affect volume control? I don't know whether do you know what I think I did? I caught the cable earlier on, and I wonder if I've caught it and turned the volume up. So I wonder if that's what I've probably done. Maybe it's just knocked it. Anyway, Santorius Art says, yeah, Ash is the best. He's a beast. Yeah, he pumps out that content. Rob says, do you think the expansions will tie to other new races, factions for AOS down the line? It wouldn't surprise me if we see it expanding the Soulblight faction. I think Soulblight faction is just going to kind of mix with Archeon and the Death faction and stuff. I think it's all just going to kind of mix into one now. So I think we might see some more. I mean, obviously we've got new zombies coming. We've got those new vampires look absolutely fantastic. I really like those. We might see kind of like more Vargeist type stuff coming as well. It wouldn't surprise me if we see like a dragon or something like that coming, like a zombie dragon type thing, like as a big kind of centerpiece for like an expansion or something like that. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. Luke says, I've been watching loads of Asher stuff. He does so many games that nobody else talks about. Yeah, he does. I mean, he's a big inspiration to me, to be fair. there's very few channels out there who basically continually kind of just keep out the level of content that he does and the range of stuff as well. Mark was saying maybe it was stuck at the Suez Canal. Yeah, I think that's been a bit too recent, I think, for that one causing the issue. John says Ash lives a 30-minute drive down the QEW from me. Hoping to meet him sometime at a show or something. Yeah, hopefully when shows get up and running, might bump into him at Adepticon next year. Vicious Bros says greetings from Argentina. Greetings. Hero of the Table says opinions vary way too much from person to person. I want to see some gameplay or discussion on the rules. Yeah, exactly, mate. That's kind of me as well. I like when it comes to opinions of the miniatures. For me, we already know that stuff by now. ASDF says, I've also enjoyed reviews that Joel does at Drive-Thru Games. Yeah, Joel was in earlier on here. Joel does some great stuff. You can tell he comes from mainly a board game background, because I think he talks much more about the quality of the game and the quality of the game player. He does pass comment on the quality of the miniatures, but he is much more focused in the game itself. And I think what happens is on a lot of miniatures channels, they end up raving about the miniatures and actually forget about the game itself. Warwick says, I didn't notice a change in volume at all. Now I was playing the stream in the background whilst playing Grim Dawn, but it sounded fine to me. Phil says, hope they redo the ghouls, something like the ones for Shadespire. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, mate. Lord Maiden says he's gluing some Titans for Titanicus. Spydelord says, might sound a bit weird, but I love the way Ash talks. I don't know if it's the accent or the inflection or both. He's a little bit fast for me, to be honest, sometimes. He's sometimes, especially if he's talking about a game that I'm not fully kind of up to speed with, I can find it quite hard at times to kind of keep up with what he's saying. I do sometimes have to slow down the speech. But I speak quite fast as well. I've got quite a fast accent and quite fast talking, so I'm not in any position to kind of tell him how to do anything. Marco says, as a native English speaker, watching Ash's video makes me sweat. He talks so fast. Yeah, sorry, mate. Andy says, talking of board games, what's a Euro game? So, in board games, there's essentially kind of two main types of games. There are Euro games, and there are what's called, well, slangly called, Ameritrash games. Ameritrash games are essentially games that are focused around the theme of the game. So things like Zombicide is a good example of an Ameritrash game. It's where theme is the most important part, and the game is designed around the theme. A Euro game tends to be a game that is quite heavy in rules, quite sort of cerebral, quite kind of like sort of like thinky, puzzly type thing, and is generally designed around interest and mechanics, and there is maybe limited to little theme in the game. So some games which are kind of like worker placement type games or sort of area control type games, the theme of the game is almost tacked on, and that actually it's just the gameplay that's the important part of the game. Where Ameritrash games are things like where we see like kind of loads of miniatures in them. We see big themes like Zombicide, or things like I can't even think now. Things like Hate, anything from Simon, that kind of stuff. John Ashley says, sorry, Queen Elizabeth Way, Major Highway. Yeah, I've never heard of that, mate. Busey says, too fast, and now with the mask, it's a nightmare. Yeah, the mask things, I must admit, I do find that a little bit frustrating, the channels with the mask at the minute, but I do understand, what else can you do? Luke says, yeah, I struggle to keep up, and I can't have him on in the background. I need to watch, because I sometimes need a lip read to actually to make sure I know what he's talking about. Ash plays his game so fast as well. He knows the rules. He absolutely knows rules inside out. I find that if it's a game I know the rules to, I can watch it no problem at all, and I like the fact that he runs at a good speed. But if it's a game that I'm trying to learn or I'm seeing for the first time, I do find I have to maybe keep stopping it and coming back a little bit sometimes. But that might be just me, to be fair. Marcus says Euro games cost more after Brexit. Ed says, seeing Euro games is just a way of board game snobs to look down on games that are fun and actually care about the quality of the components. I know some people do kind of think about it quite snobby, but I think it's... I think them days are a bit like sort of less now. It's more. I think it's more to do with kind of how I explained it now, where Euro games are kind of, you know, the rules, the mechanics of the game are the interesting part, and the Ameritrash stuff, as it's kind of slangly called, and by the name, it sort of shows how it used to be a little bit more kind of snobby. They're much more kind of designed around theme and kind of maybe components as well. Anyway, how are we doing for time? We're doing all right. We're doing all right. My throat's dried out a little bit, but I'm okay. What I might do, folks, I'll watch back tomorrow. I'll watch back the section that I did around the gameplay stuff, and if it's clipped too bad, what I'll do is I'll just re-record it. It won't take me long to re-record it. My slides and everything are still here. I'll re-record it to camera, so the one I'll upload tomorrow will probably be an improved audio version of what I was talking about tonight. Hopefully I can remember to talk about all the things that I said tonight. But yeah, fingers crossed. Spiderlord says, I'm Ameritrash all the way. Give me bad guys to shoot and some dice and objectives. Yeah, I'm definitely a sucker for theme. I need to have themes in my games. If it's a bit abstract, unless it's kind of like a puzzle game, but if it's too abstract, it kind of loses me. I need to ground the game in some kind of story, I think. Christian sharing the link there for Amazon as well. Thank you very much, mate. Luke saying Eurogame is just a reference to the types of mechanics it does and does not tend to involve. It's not a derogatory term, or certainly not by the vast way of people using it. I don't think Eurogame's a derogatory term, but I think Ameritrash was a derogatory term, and I think it was kind of seen by Eurogame snobs as, oh, those kind of like those horrible like trashy games kind of thing. I think that was where the derogatory term used to come from. Probably less so these days. Kaylee Anderson says Descent versus Gloomhaven. One's Ameritrash, the other's very Euro, both dungeon crawler. Yeah, and it's not always kind of the gameplay itself really. And I think Gloomhaven is probably more an example of a more modern Euro game as well. If you think about kind of games like, what am I trying to think of? Like Agricola and things like that. That's what I think of when I think of kind of sort of Euro games. Tony says, generally there's less reliance on luck in Euro games. Dice don't generally play a big part, if all. Yeah, that's a fair comment as well. Luke says, my favourites are games that are hybrids of the two, such as Blood Rage and Mythic Battles Pantheon. I think things have changed a lot over the years, and I think what would have been stereotypically Euro games in the past are learning a lot from the big production values of like Ameritrash stuff, and I think there's a lot of Ameritrash type games that are learning from a lot of the really interesting game mechanics and luck mitigation type stuff. Marco says, what makes you excited for Cursed City but never made you buy into Blackstone Fortress? Right, mate, that's a good question. The first one is Warhammer 40k is not. I'm not really into the universe of Warhammer 40k. I don't really read the books. I like the lore in the background. Whilst I think it's fantastic, it's just a bit like it's like a bottomless pit to dive into. And the background to Warhammer 40k for me just feels like it's something that's out there that I don't even know where to start, so I kind of avoid it. The miniatures for Blackstone Fortress didn't really kind of tickle my fancy. I didn't really find them that interesting. And the gameplay video, which had like Becca Scott and Peachy and Duncan and was it Louise? Wasn't Louise? So was it? I forget who the girl was as well. There was somebody else in the video. I found it quite dull, if I'm perfectly honest. And the gameplay didn't basically call out to me. By the time I'd kind of heard good things about it, you couldn't pick up any of the expansions. They were all sold out. It didn't really interest me for those particular reasons. Cursed City, I'm much more of a kind of a horror fan. I said before all of this got announced, if this is Warhammer Quest set in Age of Sigmar world with kind of vampires and werewolves and zombies and stuff, I'm all over this. The theme to this is much more up my street. The theme to Cursed City feels like the background stories for AOS, where you don't, the background stories for Warcry, where you don't need to be fully involved in the AOS lore to appreciate the stories for like Warcry or appreciate the stories for Cursed City. That's why, for me personally, I'm much more interested in this. Pixie Proxy says, who is this Ash people are talking about? It is Ash Barker from Guerrilla Miniature Games. He has a really, really good miniature games channel. Does about 5 or 6 videos a week. Absolute monster beast of the amount of content he puts out. If you are not already subscribed, please, please, please do go and subscribe to him. Ed Hanley says, there are quality Euro-style games, Lords of Waterdeep, for example. There are quality games on both sides, absolutely. I'm not saying one's better than the other. Not at all. Rob Farrelson says, at the chat, Bloodborne, the board game is a really fun game and you do not need to know the video game. Bloodborne, made by Simon, and is a good mix of American and Euro games, no dice. I think this is the point where I was making about how things have kind of blended now. It's like how miniature gaming and board gaming is blending now as well. It's not as defined. It's not as clear a definition, really. John Ashley Smith says, I never knew that distinction between American design games and European. Guess I haven't played enough different games. I think it's less defined these days, as I mentioned, but certainly going back a number of years ago it was. Peter says, my favourite are the games we get to play. Had a game of Catan, the dice game, with my wife this weekend. It was pretty fun. Oh, 100%. The best games are the ones that you get to the table. Like, I've always said that. Gareth Lewis, good evening, mate. He says, just pop in to say, glad you're feeling better. I'll catch up on the video tomorrow. Thank you very much, mate. Tasty Brain Drain says, honestly, I like both Euro and Ameritrash games. I'm not too sure if I could pick up favourite types. I'm probably less sort of, I play a lot less Euro games. I'm not really into really heavy kind of mechanics. I like much more like simplified, straightforward, just a bit of fun, really. I'm not really into the really heavy games. John says, oh yeah, he's talking about, yeah. Warwick Darkgate says, a werewolf expansion of Scarcity would be amazing. GW hasn't done a werewolf sculpt in forever. The fact that we've got, what's he called? Radek the Wolf. I really hope we see some wolves. Like, I would love to see that. Sunday Sykes is a group of guys from our store played Blackstone Fortress and didn't like the gameplay, so the store sold only a couple of copies. I think it put most of them off Curse City. I think I'll be playing this solo. I'll probably be playing this solo, mate, if I'm perfectly honest, if I get my hands on it. John Kellogg says, my friendly little gaming store just messaged me that he could order 8 boxes and 1 book. There you go, mate. 8 boxes. I told everybody at the start of the stream, 8 is where everybody is going to be getting. Busey said, read the Blackstone Fortress novel. Yeah, I've got a load of stuff to read at the minute, like, but at some point I've heard it's pretty good, actually. Andy Smith says, bring back Space Hulk. I've got a copy of Space Hulk. I think I've played it once. John saying, I think Ash is great, but I've heard people with unflattering opinions of him and his channel. I think it's like anything. I'm sure there's plenty of people who have very unflattering opinions of me and my channel as well. Not everybody will appeal to everybody. Ash absolutely knows his stuff. He's a really approachable guy. He's really friendly. He's an absolute beast when it comes to painting and creating content. But not everybody will like the games he plays, and not everybody will kind of jive with his personality. In the same way, I get plenty of messages telling me people don't like my personality as well. So it's a real mix, but you can't please everybody. If everybody liked the same thing, it would be kind of dull, and we'd only need one channel then, wouldn't we? Where are we up to? Spylord says, I think the closest I got to a Euro is Pandemic. That's got cubes in it, so it's Euro, right? I would say, well, it's got a good theme in it. It probably is quite Euro, though. Animus says, the best hybrid between wargame and board game was Walking Dead All-Out War. I wouldn't even say that was that board gamey, mate, to be fair, because you've got like a freedom of movement. See, when you start to get things like God Tier, Shadespire, like Super Fantasy Brawl, those I think is when it almost starts to cross lines. Fiji says, forget Space Hulk, bring back Space Crusade. And he says he's off to bed. Good night, mate. Thanks for popping in. Tony says, King of Tokyo has gotten so many new players into hobby of gaming days. I've been to or run. It's always a good thing for something quick. It definitely is. Yeah, King of Tokyo is a fun game. Spanky Taz says, hang on, when did you get a personality? Just a really bad one, mate, that's all. John says, why do people bother sending those messages? Just vote with your views and watch something else. because people like to think that they're important enough to tell everybody else what they think of them. I don't take it personally, mate. It's not like those people who say horrible things to me don't know me. They've never met me. They've seen me on a video and they've formed an opinion on what they've seen in like a 5 or 10 minute video or something like that. I don't take it personally. If I did, I'm in the wrong job, that's for sure. John says, I'd sell a kidney to get a new Space Hulk. Mine's hardly ever been out the box, mate. Sunday Sykes says, the haters are just jealous of your charming accent. Yeah, I'm sure of that. John says to Luke, I was honestly shocked to hear negative comments about Ash. There are negative comments for every single YouTube channel that are out there. There's plenty of people don't like Beasts of War. There's plenty of people don't like me. There's plenty of people don't like Uncle Adam and Tabletop Minions. There's plenty of people don't like Ash Barker. Because we all like different stuff. If you're like, if you are only into competitive gaming, for example, there's absolutely nothing from my channel probably that you'll get out of it. So those are the people that want to go and watch Tabletop Titans and watch all the 40k bat reps and stuff like that. There are people who don't like some of those channels. It's just how it is. It's like how there are people that don't like really popular films. There are people that don't like really popular bands and really popular music. That's just how things are. It's just that in this day and age, people feel the need to tell people that they don't like it. Langwheel's Profile says, I hope they bring back Battlefleet Gothic. I think they will at some point in the future. I think it's only a matter of time, I think. John says Gothic needs to come back. Peter says I've got Space Hulk edition 1, 2, 3 and 4 just because. I don't know what copy mine is. I think I've got a 4th edition one. I'm not sure. I bought it second hand off somebody. John still says I don't think the kidneys are meant to be in boxes. Ed saying Battlefleet Gothic would be fantastic. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at some point. I think it's maybe a way off at the minute. Because I think it's probably one of those things that it's a rose tinted glasses type thing a little bit, I think. Luke says, yeah, as soon as people get big and people start praising someone, then people love to hate will come out of their pit with keyboards in hand. I noticed that over time. Nobody sent me messages saying that they didn't like me very much when I was out, like when I had 200 subscribers, because nobody even knew who I was. But as the subscriber numbers started to go up a little bit, and I am still tiny in the grand scheme of things, but I guess I'm big enough to have some hate now. Also bring back Epic. Lord Main says, I don't like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. I'm not a fan of Lord of the Rings, mate, to be fair. And that just goes to kind of explain, doesn't it, that it's like everybody likes different things. Spider-Lord says, Battlefleet Heresy was mentioned ages ago, but the demise of Hawk may have given them pause. I'm sure we'll see it eventually. Hawk's still going, mate. They're part of TT Combat now. VG says, no thumbs down at a day though. There will be soon, mate. It's only a matter of time. Dave Mackay says, gotta love the hate. Means you're making good progress. I mean, it's not nice to read. I have read some comments where I've just thought, oh, that kind of hurts. Like, it doesn't matter how many nice comments you get. The nice ones, you kind of just go, oh, like you don't want to believe the nice ones. Like, because then you think you smell your own shit kind of thing when you do that. Like, you're up your own arse a little bit if you start to believe all the nice comments. But it's funny when you get the nasty ones, you do believe them ones, and you do take those ones to heart a little bit. VG says, maybe your hater has moved on. Nah, he's just having a night off. Luke says, that's the goal. Be big enough for the trolls to notice you. You know you've made it. Kaylee says, resin printers bought by Epic already. There is that as well. Isn't that... I don't know a lot about Epic, if I'm honest, like, but there must be other games. I mean, I do wonder whether it's definitely rose-tinted glasses and whether those kind of games would even like sell today. Sunday Sykes, I was on Patreon only live stream once, and the guy had 2 dislikes. I thought that was odd. Who's on their Patreon and disliking their content? John says, I'm ready if Epic comes back. I've got my armies painted and finished over the last 20 years. That's why it won't come back, because you've already got everything. They won't sell anything that way. Ed says, I'm primarily a competitive gamer. What you bring to the table for me is a positive attitude to both gaming and hobby and no judgment on how people like to play. Thank you, mate. Yeah, I think is that there are a lot of people who only watch YouTube to try and find the most broken lists. There are a lot of uber competitive players, and that's all they look for. And if that's what you're looking for, then my channel's not for them kind of thing. My channel is definitely just hobby in general and about inclusivity. Everybody's welcome. Doesn't matter what your level is. Doesn't matter how you like to play. If you're a competitive gamer, you are absolutely welcome. I love playing games competitively as well, but I'm not very good. If you just like to play narrative games, if you like to just kind of play something for a bit of fun, everybody is welcome. That's always what this channel's been about. I just want people to enjoy their games and not feel like pressured to do things the way everybody else tells them. Like, do your hobby how it makes you happy kind of thing. It's all fun and games. It's just talk to the owner of his friendly local gaming store. They're getting 8 copies with 28 pre-orders asked for. This is exactly what I was talking about before. If you've got a friendly local gaming store that's been taking pre-orders, be very, very careful that you don't miss out and you're disappointed. Find out before Saturday that you are absolutely 100% guaranteed a copy from their allocation. Because if like that, they've taken 28 pre-orders and they're only getting 8, that's 20 people are going to miss out. And if they don't know about it and they all think they've got one, that's 20 people that haven't had the opportunity to go and sort of buy it somewhere else. Dave said he'd arrived. There you go. So somebody was bound to press it when we were talking about it. Lord Maiden says, "See, it's back." Honestly, though, I don't like Game of Thrones. I like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, but I like Andy better. Luke says, "I think if Titanic had really flew off shells, then Epic would have come back." I think that was the test, mate, to be fair, because all the scales are similar, I think, aren't they? Peter says, "Epic models are also great for future War Commander." Yeah, but GW don't want you using it for other stuff. They want you to buy their stuff to play their game. Peter says, "I'd happily play any game that Andy was GMing." I'd like to GM a game for folks, I think, at some point. Dave says, "I'm awesome at competitive games. Lust for gold at Mantic. I finished the day with 16 gold. I used to be a competitive gamer. I used to play War Machine to quite a kind of like a competitive level. Like went to like European team tournaments and kind of UK championships and stuff. I played Malifaux to a kind of competitive level. But generally, I just don't devote. I don't really like list building that much, or I don't enjoy list building that much, and I don't commit enough time to one game to get really good at it. I like to play lots of different games, which is why I still go to tournaments and I still kind of play in tournaments because I love just meeting people and I love playing games. But I never ever go with any anticipation I'm going to be kind of like podium and stuff like that. Busey says rose tinted glasses. Yes. Lord Min says, "You speak the truth, good sir. It's about inclusivity, not exclusivity." Yeah, I mean, this hobby is hard enough, really. I mean, like, there's lots of games that we want to play that like not a lot of other people play. And sometimes it's just about finding other people, be that virtually online or kind of like in a chat like this. It's about finding other people who share your interests. And even if it means you never get to play that game, but you get to find somebody to talk about the stuff that you enjoy, sometimes that's the next best thing. It says, "If I want a broken list, I'll work it out for myself. That's half the fun." There's a lot of people don't know. There's a lot of people just want the broken lists. Languilla says, "Epic is super fun and portable." John says, "If Adeptus Titanicus had been like the original, it would have sold much better." I don't think they don't. Like, I think Blood Bowl is really the only thing that they've made like the original, and I think that was just too risky to not do so. Slippy Tiger says, "Yo, what I miss? I'm kind of disappointed I now have all this money saved and the box is considerably cheaper. Might buy a foam insert thing when whoever makes them does." Spyro says, "There'll be a lot of consolation emails going out Monday, methinks." This is the problem. This is why I'm saying, I'll say it again, folks. I think I've said it twice tonight already. If you have pre-ordered Cursed City through a local friendly gaming store and they've said, "Oh, you're on the list, you're going to get one," double check before Saturday that you absolutely are guaranteed your copy, because most stores are only going to get 8 copies, and if they've taken more than 8 pre-orders, some people are going to miss out. And I heard about people who basically weren't told that they weren't getting one, and so didn't get the opportunity to go and like try and buy online from somewhere else. That's not fun. When you think you're going to get one, and then your friendly local gaming store says, "Oh no, I didn't get enough in. I didn't think to tell you, but I didn't get enough in." Peter says, Titanicus was a greater scale than Epic. What am I thinking of then? I'm sure I read something about Titanicus was the same scale as Aeronautica Imperialis, which was the same scale as something else. Maybe it was Gothic. Maybe it was Battlefleet Gothic. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Ed Hanley says, we used our old Epic minis for hordes of things. Bren B says, Future War Commander is excellent. I've never heard of it, mate. Lord Maiden says, John Estel, wait, you would like Andy Moore if he was Jeremy Irons with a red rod. James Braces, just want to say I'm still here, but cracking on with my first Curse City mini. Are you doing your, what's it called again? Your wizard guy, mate, are you? Animus says, if GW brings back any old game, then it's going to have new minis with different base sizes, so you can't use your old stuff. Of course, and to be honest, as a business, I completely get that. Like, when you have a game that is targeted at those rose-tinted glasses buyers, at those folks that used to play it years ago, they've probably still all got their old stuff. They're not going to sell a lot of new stuff to them, which is exactly why they change it up. Sunday Sykes says there should be no reason to gatekeep and push potential players away. It's hard enough in smaller cities and towns to get a game. Welcome anyone who shows an interest. Could be a new gaming buddy. You'd be surprised though, mate. Like, not everybody thinks like that. Sadly, it's not that common, but it's more common than it should be. That's for sure. VG says, I'm keen to print off some epic scale 3D prints and play some Pocket 40k. Ed says, anyway, time to turn in. Night, folks. Thank you very much, Ed. Nice to see you again, mate. Spylord says, I used epic models to make Travel 40k to play on the way to Games Day about 20 years ago. And James says, yep, free-handing runes on a robe right now. Not at all stressful. Just give it a wash, mate. Peter says, GW just needs to bring back Gorka Mocha as well. I personally do not see the attraction in all those older games. For me, they still exist. If you want to play them, they still exist. I'd much rather they concentrated on kind of like newer stuff. It's one of the reasons I love Warcry, is because they moved away from the old stuff and just created a new game. I'd rather they focused on new stuff and not keep dipping back into the old coffers of the old stuff. Peter says, wasn't Speed Freaks new Gorka Mocha? Speed Freaks, well, it wasn't even a game, it was just to sell some miniatures, wasn't it? Peter says, now seriously, if there was one game I wanted the chance to buy, it's Battle for Sulphur River. You old folks, you old, not old people, but old gamers who've played for years and years. I don't know half of those old games. I was never into Games Workshop stuff like back then. Warwick says, yeah, there are many players in friendly little gaming stores that just won't talk to new players or are grumpy to those that ask them about games they play or show new interest in tabletop games. Had it done to me. I have too, mate, as well. I've been to games clubs and stuff where folks don't really want to show you the last thing they want. Oh, I don't need more people. Kind of like I've got my little group of 4 people who I play against every week. I don't need any more new players sticking their nose in, kind of thing. You'd be surprised how many people are like that. Like how many clubs have players like that. Yeah, Peter saying Speed Freaks was an excuse to make new buggies. Exactly, mate. Phil says more time. I wish I had £1 for every time somebody says more time. I'd be able to retire. And Peter says true. So, folks, how we doing? How we doing for time? How we doing for chat? We still got good numbers in the chat. What else do you want to talk about tonight? I feel like I've kind of dried up a little bit there. I think it's my mental exhaustion. I'm trying to think ahead about what I wanted to talk about. I didn't write any notes down about that. I wrote loads of notes about Curse City and thought it would take a lot longer. So there you go. So yeah, get your questions in. What we got 148 people, right? I'm sure you must have some questions. Tell me what you want to know about. Slippy Tiger says Warlock of Firetop Mountain, and that's a game. We've done a few of those fighting fantasy games on these live streams, mate. You should come back for one of those ones sometime. Peter says most or all GW games didn't really play that smoothly and the models don't hope. There's a lot of that, mate, to be fair. And this is what I mean about rose tinted glasses. I think people look back and say, oh, the old games were so much better, but I think it's like they're remembering the fun they had with friends, not necessarily the game itself. Jack Spinoza says, what are you painting at the minute, mate? I'm in the middle of painting some Malifaux stuff. So I've got over my table here, I've got my which one's that? My Dr. McMornan set is about half done. I've got the Pride of the Necromata, which is a Lost World Exodus box, which is built, ready to be primed and ready for painting. What else have I got? Yeah, Malifaux stuff mainly is taking up my painting table at the moment. That's kind of what I'm knee deep in at the moment. I was building some more Malifaux stuff today, so I built Nakima, is it Nakima box? And I also built the Zoraida box as well today. The Zoraida box, those little, I forget what they're called now, those kind of like little tree dudes. Are they called Waldgeists, I think they're called? They were a bit of a bitch to build. Lord Maiden says, Burrs and Badgers. Yeah, there's a Kickstarter at the moment, isn't there, for it? Marcus, the Super Punker Man, says, yeah, I'm a weirdo and I will talk to anyone and play anyone at the game store I hang out. I'm quite happy to always to play anybody. Like, I don't care who the person is. I will happily play them at any game. I might not play them a second time if they're a dick, but I will happily play anybody the first time. Marcus Meyer says, how is live? Live is both a lot of fun and quite stressful at times, especially when you're doing it on your own. There's a lot to kind of control. I'm obviously kind of making sure. So I'm kind of surrounded by bits and pieces. I've got, like, there's a light here, there's a light there, there's a light behind the camera. The camera's looking at me. I've got a screen above, up on the wall, which is showing what the kind of all the software's doing. It's got like the stream health, that's telling me how it's doing. I'm trying to keep an eye on the audio to make sure it doesn't get too loud again. I've got a screen here in front of me, which has got all of the chat on, and I control any of the bits and pieces from there. I've got a Stream Deck box here, which allows me to flick between all the different screens and stuff. It's kind of like trying to fly the Spaceship Enterprise and think ahead and not say something offensive and try and think of what to talk about while you talk about something. So it really kind of, it's quite mentally exhausting at times. However, it's a lot of fun. I love doing it. It's my opportunity to just kind of be myself, just to relax. How you see me on live stream is my personality. It's like, this is not some kind of like fake YouTube personality type thing. And I get to know and get to chat to the people that watch the videos, really. So I really enjoy doing the live stuff, but it's tiring. It's mentally exhausting. Bren B says, Tunnels and Trolls, my go-to RPG in the 80s. Was that a bit of a D&D rip-off, was it? Ken Tryu says, tips for using green stuff. I don't use a lot of green stuff, if I'm honest, to be honest. I don't really do any sculpting. If I'm doing any gap filling, I tend to use like Vallejo model putty. So I tend not to use green stuff, really. But yes, certainly green stuff is great for holding magnets in, if you want to use it for that. It's fantastic for sculpting stuff. It's really good for holding metal parts together as well. Just make sure you keep it wet when you're working with it. Sunday Sykes says, what is a hobby tool or bit of kit that you don't have that you would like, and what's something that is underrated in your opinion? Hobby tool that I don't have that I would like. I'm not really sure, if I'm honest. I think I probably, do you know what it is? I probably would quite like, I think, just generally some better tools. I've had like all of my tools since I first started hobbying. So things like my razor saw, my files, my little pin vise, my scalpel, like all that kind of stuff. I've had them since I first started hobbying, like probably going back 10, 15 years ago, something like that. You still got all the same original ones, like the clippers, still using the same ones. I could probably do it investing in some new tools, I think. So it's not that I don't have them, but you just get like, it feels like dead money. It feels like it's stuff like, oh, I don't really need them, to be fair, because I've already got them. But yeah, I could do some better quality ones, I think. Now I think they're kind of worn out a little bit now. Like all my drill bits for my pin vise are absolutely kind of like sort of worn out now from like drilling metal models and stuff. So yeah, I could do with some new ones, I think. Underrated. What's underrated a bit of kit? I think my painting handle from Redgrass Games, I think that's the most underrated bit of kit I've got. It's just so comfortable. It's probably a personal thing. It's the most comfortable thing for my hands, like my hand size and stuff, and how I hold miniatures. But yeah, it's definitely probably the one thing that I use more than, like, I always use it when I'm painting minis. Peter says there was a Firetop Mountain board game as well. Ash played it on his channel. I didn't know, never knew there was a Firetop Mountain board game. Sam Palmer says, having seen more revealed about Scarcity, are you looking forward to giving it a go? Do you have your eye on a particular hero? Hello, Sam, by the way. Thank you very much for coming to chat. I've been excited from day one. The more I've learned about it, it's kind of ticked all the little boxes that I was looking for in the game. So for me personally, it's really it's been exactly what I was looking for. So I'm really excited for it. Characters-wise, I must admit, I'm terrible at remembering the names. I do like Yeltsin, who's the kind of like the vampire hunter or the witch hunter type thing. I really like the look of that character. It's got very much kind of Solomon Kane kind of, what's the other word I'm thinking of? Who's the vampire hunter? Van Helsing. That kind of look to it. I really like that. I do also like the kind of like the noble character. I forget his name as well. I think I might have used his image on the thumbnail for this today. The one who's cousins of the three kind of sort of vampire women or vampire men. Those are probably the two characters I'm looking forward to using. John saying, I'll talk to anybody who'll listen, then they'll carefully move away. Hero at the Table says, did you play the other Warhammer Quest games, Silver Tower and Hammerhall? Did you enjoy them? I loved Silver Tower. I've got a copy of Silver Tower here at home. Absolutely love Silver Tower. One of my favourite games. Hammerhall, I played somebody else's copy, but didn't like the fact that you couldn't. You needed a what do you call it? Didn't you? You needed a games master, I think. And I didn't enjoy it as much. Jack Spinoza says, I'm loving the airbrush you recommended. Definitely interested in Malifaux. Yeah, the airbrush, mate. I still stand by those videos. I'm still using them now. I was painting some bases the other day, and I rather than kind of like breaking out my I've got like 3 airbrushes. Rather than breaking out my big kit and stuff like that, I just had the little battery one on the desk, and I just used that. It worked great. Blizzard City, Nick and Mortar is missing the kitty. Oh no, mate. If you contact them, mate, they'll send it straight out. Peter says, did you finish painting Hero Quest? It's in the box in the loft, mate, out of sight, and kind of completely forgot about it. I need to get it out and finish it off, mate. And I did promise I would do that, but because you know what I'm like, I like to put things out of the way when I'm not actively working on them. It basically just kind of ground to a halt, and I actually forgot about it until you mentioned it, if I'm honest. Jim says, if they make a new Gorkamorka or Epic, they should make all new rules, which would just make people angry, so they should make new games that are spiritual successors. That's kind of how I think. I don't think you should always go back and just revisit the old game. It's they're never as good as you remember. Sam says, talking about cameras, what cameras do you use? So the camera that's looking at me now is a Canon 250D with a Sigma 1.4, is it a 30mm lens, I think it is. So because it's what's called a fast camera, which means it's got a very low f-stop, which is what gives that kind of blurry background there. So if I put my hand there so it focuses, you can see how the background gets all blurry. That's because it's got a really kind of fast lens on it. So the lens wasn't particularly cheap. The lens was almost as much as the camera was, to be fair. So that's what I use for my main camera. When I'm doing my painting streams on a Wednesday, I've got a Canon 200D, which is kind of my face camera, and I've got a Panasonic 4K camcorder that I use for doing the painting. So yeah, but if anybody's kind of doing any kind of video work and stuff like that, lighting is way more important than cameras. Spend money on lighting before you spend money on cameras. Use your mobile phone. Your mobile phone will give you fantastic quality video as long as you use enough light to light what you're doing. Danny the Boy says, to me, the rumours about super expensive Scarcity from GW itself, so 125 now looks super cheap. I just think it was somebody was a bit overzealous with their estimations and probably just got excited. It was probably a good rumour to kick off, wasn't it? I can't imagine. Well, they might have done. They might have done, but I don't think it was ever going to be that expensive. I don't think £125 is that expensive for what's in the box, if I'm perfectly honest. So I don't think it's kind of like a case of it's expensive, but we think it's cheap because of that. Marcus saying Starship Enterprise. That's exactly what it's like, me. Honestly, it's like flying a spaceship. That's what it is. Spylaws, I think you break down the cost of Scarcity, it's reasonable. After all, FFG's Descent 3rd edition will be more. Sorry, I was reading the next comment. Yeah, I think it's Is it worth the money? It depends what value you put on the actual gameplay itself. If you're only buying it for the minis, you might think it's a bit expensive, but there's a lot of minis in there, and it feels like there's a lot of content in there as well. Phil says, is there a chance you'll do a Ron Burgundy if we just type random stuff? James says, anything lined up for the 3D print this week? No, not at the minute, mate. I'm waiting. I backed a Kickstarter for some miniature bases, and I think that's meant to kind of it ends in the next couple of days, and then I think they send the files straight out. So as soon as they send the files out, I've got a load of Malifaux bases that I want to print, so I'm kind of waiting for that really at the minute. But I'm still enjoying the 3D printing mind. I'm finding, touch wood, I'm finding it really easy. I'll be honest. Like failed prints seem to be a thing of the past. All my models are coming out really good quality. Like all my prints are coming out good quality. I'm not getting any kind of like sort of anything too bad. It's working quite well. I think I need to buy another bottle of resin if I'm completely honest. Busey saying, when's the next Fighting Fantasy Live? We'll probably do one, aren't we? Might do one in April. Peter says, top tip, super glue almost instantly cures green stuff. Chris Carr says, myself and friend demo at game shows. I usually do all the teaching while he wanders off. I'll talk to anyone. I think I'd quite like to do some kind of demo stuff at some point, just to kind of give it a try. I quite like talking to complete strangers. I just find it's nice to have something to make a conversation about. I'm not socially awkward as such, but I'm not like the most confident of people, like talking to strangers. So I find doing things like demos or having games to talk about is a really good icebreaker. I'm not really good at the small talk stuff generally, but yeah, having stuff to talk about, which is like a common interest, is a really good icebreaker. Michael says hobby tool would be an overdraft. Spiderlord says, well, to be fair, Andy does have the Captain Picard hairstyle. Oh, cheeky bugger. Where are we up to here? Dave Mackay says, what software do you use for your 3D modelling? I've just been using 3D Maker, which is the kind of the Windows stuff that's built in. That's what I've been designing the bases with. However, I've been trying to teach myself Blender as well, to be fair. It is Blender, isn't it? Yeah, I've been trying to teach myself Blender. Spiderlord says, do you see Redgrass or kickstarting a new wet palette in a couple of months? I didn't say that, mate, but to be fair, I don't really know what... It feels like it's kind of like solving a problem that we don't need. Like, a wet palette's a wet palette. I'm not really sure what else you need for it. Dave says he's a hippie compared to me, needs a haircut. It's just a bit of... I can't remember when I cut it. I think I cut it last week. Was it? It might have been Saturday. Might have been Saturday I cut my hair. Friday or Saturday. Luke says, have you got any podcasts coming down the line? To be honest, mate, I've completely forgot about it. Just like with a million other things kind of going on. And so no, I haven't recorded any yet, but I do need to set some up. Peter says, save me finishing my Dreadball for tomorrow for Wednesday. Dave says, it's lulling you into a false sense of security. I've had loads of fails recently. I just think that I'm kind of like the settings I've got, and I know what to look for when I'm setting them up on the print bed, to be fair. So Phil says, off the bed, cheers for the stream, Andy, good to see you on the mend. Thank you very much, Phil. Dead Hand says, when printing bases, do you print vertically or horizontally? I always print my bases just flat on the bed, mate. I mean, you can print them horizontally, but they take a lot longer to print. But I don't print them with any support. I just print them flat on the base, and I use a really low exposure time on the actual bed itself, so they come off really easily. And I found that by kind of playing with them, I don't really get that kind of like elephant foot mushrooming at the bottom. They come off without any problems off the bed. I think I'm on like something like a 15-second exposure time on the bed just to kind of get them to stick. So yeah, it seems to be working all right at the minute. Anne Collingwood says, what does perdition? I don't even know what that means. Spanky Taz says, I'm very good at talking to strangers, but they always seem to bugger off when I show them what's in the matchbox. Lord Vin says, Captain Picard's the best captain. You'll be pleased to know I have never seen an episode of Star Trek. I have never watched Star Trek in my life. I've seen one of the Star Trek movies, one of the new ones. I've never seen a TV episode of Star Trek. Any of the Star Treks, whether it's Next Generation or all of them stuff. I've never seen one. Better than Pugwash. Peter Cooman says, Blender, we making smoothies now. Yeah. Johnson, Kirk was the only real leader. And Sunded says, better than having a Lieutenant Worf hairstyle. That's lost on me. I don't know who Lieutenant Worf is. Rob Fanelson says, are you using a drafting tablet or mouse and keyboard for the modelling? I've just been using a mouse and keyboard, to be fair. I do have an iPad Pro, but unfortunately, most of the software that I use on PC isn't available on the iPad. So I'm looking to see if I can get some software for the iPad that I can use, like the kind of like the iPad Pro pencil with as well. It's my wife's iPad, to be fair, like, so there you go. Yoakum saying, good night, folks. Great stream. Good to see you back. I'm feeling better. Thank you very much. Sam saying, when printing flat on the bed, do you not get a bad elephant foot? I don't, mate. I've had some instances where it has caused that, but then what I've found is just by kind of trial and error, trying a few different settings and changes, you get a very, very slight, like maybe not even like a millimeter, maybe. But I just file that off from the bases, to be fair, because they just got like flat size anyway. So no, I've not struggled. I mean, let me see if I can. I've got some bases I can show you. So you won't be able to hear me, but I'm gonna pop into the camera and show you these ones. So there you go. I wasn't talking at that point. So yes. So like the bases I've been making for Dreadball, I just printed straight on the bed. Not really had any issue with elephant's foot on them. The other ones I've been printing sort of like toppers. So the one I showed with, which was the zombie chihuahua, was just a topper. So yeah, I'll if you're not a member of a Facebook group. I've kind of showed some images off it in there as well of stuff I've been printing. There was some stuff that was... Hang on, I'll see if I can find something else. So these bases I'm going to show you as well. These were from Corvus Games Terrain. And he sent me these files just to have a look at them. I've played with the settings since these. So these ones are probably about as bad as the elephant's foot that I've had from the bases. I'll show you these ones now. Again, you won't hear me on the microphone, so I won't talk when I'm showing them. Oops, I dropped that one. So there we go. So yeah, that was some of the bases I've been doing. So yeah, I've not really had any issues with those ones. Luke says, I did not know about that red grass palette, but more because I didn't know what they can do to improve the current one. Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, a wet palette, really. I'm not really sure, unless it's going to paint for you. Hero of Table says, nice chat. Thanks for a good night. Thank you very much. Marcus says, what the hell, Andy? You just lost cool points. I've never been interested in Star Trek, to be honest, mate. Certainly Wiki says no Star Trek, where's the down button? Sam Palmer says Galaxy Quest is the best Star Trek movie. I agree, I've seen Galaxy Quest. Galaxy Quest is fantastic. Blizzard says the Oval is the best Trek series. Not seen it. Rob Fanelson says I meant like a Wacom tablet. It's like a digital drawing pad. I know what you mean, mate. My son's got one, like a digital drawing pad. I've never used one, mate, to be honest. I've just used a mouse at the minute. I think maybe if I try and get a bit more adventurous, I might try and kind of use one. I bought one for my son a while ago for a birthday present. He does a little bit of kind of digital art. I might borrow his one weekend or something like that and give it a try and see if I find it any more useful. Spylaw says, I've seen all the Star Trek ever made. I'm not sure how you manage that, sir. I'm kind of impressed. Just never interested me, mate, if I'm honest. It's just I liked kind of Star Wars and stuff. Star Trek was never like my mum and dad were never really into like kind of like sci-fi stuff on TV, so I never really watched it when I was a kid. Like I remember going to the cinema to watch Star Wars with my uncle. So yeah, I just never watched it on TV. We didn't have like Sky and stuff when I was a kid. So that those programs were just never on TV. And the older I've got, the less interested I've been in it, if I'm honest. Something I'll try dropping my exposure time on the base levels. Yeah, it's certainly, like I say, I've been down to about 15 seconds, I think it was. I mean, a lot of that might be the printer I've got, it might be the ink, the resin I'm using and stuff like that. But I've just been keep dropping it each time just to try and see. And those ones I've just showed, the last ones were before, I think they were like at 30 seconds, 35 seconds. I've dropped it down a lot since then. Dave Mackay says, lots of the mini swap, which isn't finished, is 3D printed stuff I've made in Blender. I find it relaxing after a day of working on a computer, but I'm a bit odd. Jim says, I never found that base again. It actually hit me on the foot. Sam says, cheers, appreciate seeing those. You are welcome, mate. Lord Maiden says, how can I order some from you? I'm going to be setting up not a web store, but like maybe like an eBay page. You'll be able to order them direct through the Patreon chat and stuff like that. But I have to be careful about what, like, so even though I've designed the bases myself for no non-IP infringing futuristic sports game, if I try advertising them with the name of the game, then that company wants a cut. They want a cut from everything I sell of them. So I just have to be careful how I advertise the products I have for sale. The Kickstarter that I've backed it with a commercial license, so I can sell the bases that I've paid for from that Kickstarter. So I've got a commercial license for those as well. So when that arrives, there'll be a big list of bases that I can print and sell. Danny Boyce is already plan to buy Death Rattle Skeletons, even better poses, Dead Walker Zombies, even better poses, and Fell Bats. I could use all of them to vary cursities. It'll get bloody expensive, mate, that's for sure. Spylaw says, better seal, reusable membrane, and no magnets. I've got the army painter one, mate, and it's good enough. I don't feel the need to kind of like to change that one. Sunday Sykes says, just sent a request to join the Facebook group. Let me just go in and accept if anybody's there we go. We've got a couple of people just asked to join. So there is Peter and there is Jonathan. So if you're in the chat, you have just been accepted into the Facebook group. Peter says, how can you discuss sci-fi series and not, what was that, not mention and ignore Red Dwarf? Daniel Engel says, thoughts on filament 3D printers, just got one for free from a co-worker. I'll be honest, mate, I'm getting very, very tempted. I'm trying to find out more about the ones that have the best quality, because I don't like the layer lines on filament printers. But I have seen some really, really good quality printed, like Corvus Games Terrain, one of my Patreons, he's quite often in the chat, does some stuff like Marvel Crisis Protocol and stuff, some really awesome buildings. And I've seen some of them printed and painted online, and they look fantastic. And I'm trying to find out which filament printer gives you the best quality of that kind of the minimized layer lines. I've seen some that's pretty awful, where it looks like it's kind of had like a rake dragged along the side of it. And I've seen some where it's quite minimal. I'm becoming more and more interested in potentially picking one up in the future to do those big terrain pieces. But it's taken a lot of research to try and find out which ones give you the neatest, kind of smoothest prints. Because when I'm looking at them, most when you talk about quality on filament printers, they tend to talk about like dimensional quality, because they're very good for like sort of prototype parts as opposed to quality miniatures, if you like. Daniel says Star Wars is much better. I agree. Peter says, anyone seen the family remake of Star Wars? I don't think I have, mate, no. Daniel saying Spaceballs. Star Wars is more like fantasy than Star Trek that tries to be hard sci-fi. Yeah, and I think that's what I like about it, to be honest. I like that space opera type stuff as opposed to, like, I don't think I'm really into the kind of like hard sci-fi stuff, if I'm perfectly honest. John Ashley Smith says, I missed the entire Star Trek Next Generation on account I worked evenings and all through the mid-80s, although through the 90s couldn't be bothered to learn how to record a VCR. Warwick says, sell it as round thing with stuff on it, 3D printed in resin. I have to see a hexagon one, that's for sure. And Lord Maid saying, thanks, I'll keep an eye out. No worries. Peter Cummins says, new from BlackJack Legacy print store, undersized resin drinks coasters. There, that should be clear and not infringing. Family Guy remake. No, I've not seen the Family Guy one, mate. Sam Palmer says, I've been using my Saturn for terrain. It's not cheap, but detail is insane. I had considered that at one point, but then I thought I'll probably never use it enough. But then, actually, when I'm looking at some of the terrain pieces are still bigger than a Saturn bed. So that's why I'm kind of like that. Maybe in the future, if I keep doing it, I maybe buy a bigger printer for terrain and stuff. But yeah, the quality's fantastic, mind, on the resin printers. I can't deny that. Marcus is saying, the only thing I hate about Discovery and Picard more than anything is you have to pay to stream them. Oh, I wouldn't know, mate. Not seeing them. Yeah, I like attracting trolls. 11:05, folks. I'm gonna call that now because I'm absolutely shattered. Like I said, this is the latest I've stayed up. Thank you, every single one of you who've been in tonight. I apologise for any of them audio issues. I think it was just me getting a little bit excited. Maybe it was a bit loud. Like I say, what I'll do is I'll check out the recording of it. If the recording is too bad, I'll just re-record the video tomorrow, and I'll pop that one up as the clips video for tomorrow. So watch out for that if you missed the start of the stream. I hope to see you on Wednesday on the live stream on the painting stream if you're around. It'd be very nice to see you all. Christian sharing the link there for the Patreon there as well. Thank you very much, Christian. The Patreon is what helps keep the lights on. Thank you very much, folks. So yeah, thanks everybody that's been in tonight. If you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. If you want to follow me on Instagram or on Twitter, I'm at BlackJack Legacy on all different social media things. And don't forget to kind of check out the Facebook group too. Rain says, nice tattoos. Thank you very much. I kind of got a few. I do like my tattoos. I do intend at some point, I think, to probably finish this one off, I think. I was always only ever going to stop there, but I think I might go further at some point. Anyway, I'll see you Wednesday, so take care, folks. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that you really enjoyed it. And if you did, why not consider clicking on the suggested video below to see more of the work that I've done. If you'd like to support the long-term sustainability of this channel, why not consider checking out my Patreon, where you can pledge and support from as little as $2 a month. And there is lots of different tiers and bonuses which will give you access to a private Discord server. It will give you free t-shirts, free mugs, a podcast every month, and a number of other things, including getting your name at the end of every video, like these awesome folks who already support me now.